Okay, so in this video we're going to look at some flowcharts, and I'm going to use Delta Math as a way of just trying to provide you information about how to set the flowchart up and just provide you some, hopefully some positive experiences in doing that. So the first step in doing a flowchart is to figure out the information you're given. That's the first rectangles you draw. And then the justification on the outside is given. And then from there, if it's not a congruent angle or a congruent side, then we take that information, that rectangle, and we say something that's true about that. And what we're trying to do is get three pieces of information that are things that are congruent to each other, so we can use our patterns such as side, 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 angle, side, angle, side, angle, and so on. So take a look at this picture and please read through the information. Please decide how many rectangles you can draw because of the information that's given. And then turn the video back on when you are finished. All right, so hopefully you drew three rectangles. We have the pair of angles here that are marked, the pair of sides here that are marked, and we're told that we have an angle bisector. So AC is cutting angle BAD into two equal pieces. So these two angles are the same. So we have three pieces of information. And so this one here, if you have a single one above, that's the angle bisector. And so you've got to make sure you write it the right way. So a segment to the angle. So it's going to be bisects the segment to the angle. So the segment is AC, and the angle is BAD. And that information is given to us. Now, another piece of information given to us is angle D and angle B are congruent. So that's the second thing. So these are angles, and that was D and B. And that information was given to us. And then we have two segments that are congruent, BC and CB. So over here, we're going to put in segments, and it was DC and DB. DC and BC. I'll go back and look. DC and BC. And that was given to us. So these angles here are these two, and these sides here are these two. So we have two pieces of information, and we need a third. So again, angle bisector, what it does is it divides the shape up into two congruent angles. So that means we're going to place angles here. Because the angle A is being cut up into two pieces, that means there's two angles here at A. We have to use three letters. So angle DAC is one of them, and angle BAC is the other one. And the reason why this is true is because an angle bisector divides an angle into two congruent pieces. That's what it does. So the pattern we're showing is angle, angle, side. We have angle here at A to angle B to the side. Angle at A to angle D to the side. So we're showing angle, angle, side. So we'll see if I got all the information in the right order. Click submit. And so that I did everything correctly. Now, if I made a mistake, you can always scroll down, and what you can do, this is the proof that we just did, and I'm sorry, this is the answer key, and this is the proof that we just did. And if you get an X, then you can try to figure out where you made your mistake at. And I've done this before, and I generally make mistakes because I type in a wrong letter, for example. So just be careful and double check your flowchart before clicking submit. All right, let's go ahead and let's move on to a second example. All right, so go ahead and look at this proof. And again, we're looking for three pieces of information. And again, please, quite often they give you pictures and they look a certain way, and we make assumptions on things. So, for example, don't assume that triangles are equilateral or isosceles. Don't assume there's parallel lines. Don't assume any of those things are perpendicular lines unless the information is given to you, or that we can prove it. But just by looking at the picture, that's not enough. That's why the tick marks are so important. So decide how many things that you can, rectangles you can set up. Please set up the rectangles. Again, we're trying to get 3 things. Turn the video on when you're ready to continue. All right, so hopefully you identified the 2 that are real clear to us. We've got a pair of angles and a pair of sides. There is a third piece, and it's not one we've talked a lot about in recent weeks, but there is these here point E. If the angles are next to each other, they add up to 180. But if they're across from each other, which are called vertical angles here at this X, these 2 angles are congruent. And so if I would mark this angle and this angle as being congruent, what I'll have is angle, side, angle, and then angle, side, angle. So that's the third piece of information. So we were given that, I'm doing angles now, we are given that angle B and angle D are congruent. That's given to us. We are given, doing segments next, so we're given that BE and ED, we're given those are congruent. BE and ED, again, that's given. And then there's the vertical angles. So this is not given. So the angles, because there's 4 angles here, we have to use 3 letters. So E is going to be the middle letter. So BEA would be one way of writing it. And then the angle over here is CED or DEC if I reverse it. So CED. And the reason for this is that vertical angles are congruent. So this pattern is angle, side, angle, and angle, side, angle. So hopefully if I've submitted all the letters correctly, get check mark, which we do. So again, angle, side, angle, angle, side, angle. All right, so go ahead and move on to the next one. Again, I'm going to try to get in 4 proofs in this time frame. And then hopefully that will get you feeling a little more comfortable doing proof, and then we'll continue this conversation into next week. All right, so this third problem says, given D is the midpoint of line 7 AC, complete the flow chart. So again, we're looking for 3 pieces of information. And if we have 3 pieces of information, then hopefully it fits one of our patterns. So go ahead and take a look at the problem, decide how many things were given and that you can write congruency statements for. And then turn the video back on when you're ready to continue. All right, so we're given a pair of sides being congruent and a pair of angles, and we're also told that D is the midpoint of AC. So a midpoint divides a segment into 2 equal pieces. So that means that AD and DC are the same length, based on the fact that D is a midpoint. That gives you our third piece of information. So we have a side, followed by an angle, followed by a side. Same thing here. And that's our pattern, side, angle, side. All right, so this is, again, this is that separate statement. So this is the D is the midpoint of AC. That's where that goes. So I'm looking for, here we go. So this D is the midpoint of AC. And that was given. All right, continuing here, this piece of information here in terms of given, we're given a pair of segments that are congruent, and that would be AB and BC are congruent. And you're given a pair of angles. So the angles are BAD is one set. And the other set is BCD. And again, the reason for this was it was given to you. So, the reason here, we have two, so we have two congruent items that gives me tick marks, and then this midpoint here, we have to get the third set of things. So midpoint again divides this segment in half. So we're going to say that the two segments here are congruent. That's AD and DC. And the reason why they're congruent is a segment bisector, which is what this is, divides a segment into two congruent pieces. All right, so here it says I made a mistake. So I went ahead and hopefully we can see where I made my mistake at. So D is the midpoint of AC, that's given, so that matches up pretty nice. Here's where I made a mistake. I typed in the wrong letter here. I'm not sure if you saw me do that. I hit S instead of D. S is actually to the left of the key D in the keyboard, and that's where I made my mistake. I went ahead and put the angles in 3 letters. They did it with single letters, but again, A's in the middle and C's in the middle, so that's okay. A, B, and B, C. A, B, and B, C, the reversed letters, that's also okay. So again, everything is done correctly other than the fact that I made a type of mistake, and that's part of trying to look at your work and double checking it. All right. So that's 3 problems, and I'm running out of time in terms of the video, so we will continue this next week. Hopefully the three videos were helpful in terms of getting you to think about. It's really critical to take given information and then try to get as many things with tick marks as possible, and then sometimes you're given an extra piece of information like a midpoint, maybe an angle bisector or a perpendicular bisector, something extra. Or if it's a parallelogram, then we have those theorems like opposite sides, opposite angles. So those are things that automatically work because we have theorems. So we'll continue the conversation again next week. Make sure you bring your computer with you on Tuesday for the Delta math piece of it.